What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Cedar Flags. In this episode, we're going to be filling this kind of awkward space in between what we did in the last episode, which is the dodgems, and the gravity mod and the gravity mod bridge. I guess we could call it the gravity mod bridge, although it's not really part of the ride. So, yeah, what we decided to do here is basically just build a pretty simple little drink stand. I noticed that we have a lot of guests that are complaining about being thirsty, so I don't think we've actually put like a water or drink stand in. We've done a coffee stand, but oh no, that's not right. We actually did over by Alpine Spirit. But anyway, this side of the park needed something, so we went ahead and built a fairly simple little building. I at first was kind of thinking of maybe doing something a little bit bigger, a little bit more complicated, but then I don't know, I googled, I think, concession stand, and a couple of the Carnival ones came up, and so that's kind of what the influence for this build is. You'll notice on the sides we have those windows, even though there isn't like a stand in there. So I think if you can picture like a Carnival stand or like one of those Carnival concession trailers, those typically open up, so all four sides, or at least three sides, tend to have like openings, and people can, and they could sell, I guess, drinks or funnel cakes or whatever through the windows. So unfortunately, we can't really do that in this game, so we only have one area that guests can walk up to and purchase things, but it would be kind of nice. Maybe in the future they'll give us like a shop or a facility with like 2 or even 3 sides that people can buy items for. That would be cool. So if the devs are watching this, and I don't know that they do, I really doubt it, if they do see this, know that that's on my wish list. So anyway, that's really the influence that we're going for in this build. Now again, this is fairly simple when it's all said and done, but we do some detailing work toward the end of this time lapse. But I did want to mention that I noticed a lot of you guys in the comments of the last episode really want to see more frequent uploads. And I know that's across the whole channel. Everybody wants to see more uploads. It just takes so long to make these videos. There's hours and hours that go into the building in the game, and then there's hours that go into editing all that down. So I think we're gonna try, at least with the Planet Coaster series, a little bit of smaller, more like focused episodes. So like this one, we're just doing this build and pretty much the detail work around it. Although that said, at the end of the time lapse, we go and do some really simple tweaks to the park, and that's kind of exciting, so stay tuned for that, I guess. But yeah, I think we're gonna try that and see if it works out for this series, and I think it will because of the level of detail that we can put into this game. So with like a city skylines, it's more of a macro build, whereas this is more of you're right up close, putting pieces and parts onto the building just to get that really fine detail work done. So we're gonna try that. Leave me a thumbs up if you're excited for that. Leave me a thumbs down if you're not excited for that. I could always go back to the longer videos, and I always say longer and shorter videos, but even like these builds tend to come out to about 15 to 20 minutes, so I feel like that's a decent size for an episode. Anyway, let's get back into talking about what we're doing, and that is just finishing up this one little building here. So you saw that awning come out, and now we're going through and putting a little bit of like a decorative trim on there, and we're doing some interesting little things with color here. Now we're taking influence from what is in these stalls themselves to give just a little bit more color. We originally wanted this to be a red kind of accented building, but I noticed that these 2 drink stands have more of like a green influence, so we went ahead and changed that up just so the signs would kind of work with all of the color of the building here. So in the end, I think it really came out well, and you'll see that we are just going through and placing some detail work around the stall. Not too much that had to be done in front of the stall. I love those little menus that come in the game. They're little signs, like swinging signs on a stand that you can just place in front of the stand, and you can have the guests like come up and read what's on the menu. I love that. It's such a cool little detail. But what we're doing now is just going through around the outside and doing a little bit of detail work with some foliage and nature in this area. Now, this is kind of weird because, I mean, really, it's kind of just filling space. There's no one's gonna go back behind these stalls and like walk around. There's no paths back there. There's no real rides back there either. It's just pure eye candy at this point. So filling this space was not really a chore, or it wasn't, I don't know, it was somewhere in between a chore and something easy to do. So I wanted to give some detail to this area that wasn't just like thrown together. Like we could have easily done just a bunch of like those square bushes all the way back, but I wanted something with a little bit more color in here just to give a little bit of like flavor as you're just kind of scanning through the park. And if a guest was walking by, they'd just see something more interesting than just a field of green. So that's what we're going through here. And I noticed that this bush has flowers on it, and I honestly I didn't know that you could change the color of these flowers. So up till now we've been using this as default, like these bushes default, which is like a very light, almost white green, which has worked well for us thus far through this series. But over here we changed it to some red just to give a little bit of contrast to that green building, and it also takes a little bit of influence from the dodgem stands that we did in the last episode. So I really think this all kind of ties it together. But this game, we don't actually get any flowers, so there's no just like flowers that you can put down and they're like low to the ground. There's a little bit of like flower work that you can do with the terrain tool, a little bit. It's not very versatile. So in the end, I used this bush more as just like a field of flowers, as you can see. And we changed the colors just a little bit. So in the field, you see not just a solid color of red, but you actually see some variance in there, as you would probably see in nature. So I love how this area came out. That said, I haven't ever really experienced frame drops yet in this game until this area. So these bushes are probably a pretty hefty model for the game to render. And I noticed if you step back a little too far, it starts to, the LOD kind of pops out real quick. So I'm thinking that bush is actually a very, very heavy asset. So I noticed we actually lost about 10 frames per second when we go over to that area. So nothing too bad. This game is still actually putting out a solid like 30 plus frames for me right now. So I love that. But anyway, what we're doing is just going through and doing something we don't really do in this series a lot, which we actually have to do more of, and that is focus on some lighting. So I wanted to do a little bit of lighting on this part of Gravity Mod because it is a key feature as you're walking down the park. And you can kind of see that big sweeping curve of the roller coaster. So I wanted to have these lights put in here just to give a little bit of a green glow as it becomes nighttime. So we're actually hiding these now with some of those bushes, the rectangular bushes, just so like if you're walking down the path, you don't actually see those lights. So I love how that all came out. But we're popping back over to the main part of the park, and we're doing a little bit of tweaking. Now, originally around this area, we had all of these tall trees, and I really wanted to open this space up. The tall trees really kind of confined this plaza in particular to like a very intimate area, and I wanted this to be more open. So when you walk in, you see this like giant building scape and just people all over the place. And really, I wanted people from the entrance to be able to see that Gravity Mod, I guess, sign. So we're going ahead and shrinking those trees down a little bit. We end up using these beech trees, which I don't think I've really used all that much. And I love these trees. They are really, they're small, but they kind of fit the green element that is around. Now outside of the park, we don't actually have these like by quote nature, but I just love how it came out. So I ended up using these instead of those tall trees. So guests have more of like a sense of being in an open space, which is, I think, like psychologically would be better for a theme park. Like you don't want to walk into a theme park and be like walking around just like shrugged up, like, oh man, I feel very uncomfortable here. You want to be in here, you want to have like wide open views of everybody, like the thrills you can like almost visualize. But let's go ahead to the live portion and check out what we have just done. Alright guys, so here we are in the live portion, and we're starting near the main, I guess, walkway or path system of the park. We're near the entrance, I guess I should have said. But yeah, you can see now how much more open this looks now. So I really, like before these tall trees where these now round, I guess, bushes are, they obscured a lot of like this building in particular, but also it obscured a lot of like gravity mods, so you couldn't really see it from back here. Now, it's still a little hard to see, but you at least get that there's a really big G right over there, so you should go over there if you want to ride gravity mods. So, I mean, you can also, I guess, tell that the coaster's back there, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, I love how this looks now, and you notice that we actually changed this from from grass to mulch, and I really like how that looks. Now, there is still some grass just around here, which I kind of intentionally kept in for the most part. I just wanted some green space to be here still, but a lot of this I've changed to like beds, I guess is a good way to put it, even though a lot of these don't have actual like walls around them, but I think it's fine for the most part over here. I do want to mention, I started talking a little bit about flowers in the time lapse, but the mulch tool, there are two separate kinds of mulches, and I don't know, the one might even just be like dirt, but it's got like this pink or purplish flower to it. So going down and putting like a mulch around this and then using the intensity at like 10 to 20%, you can actually get some really interesting contrast around here. So you get like random spurts of little flowers growing throughout these beds. So I really felt like this was a good, I guess, I don't want to say compromise, but a good way to, I guess, revamp this area. So anyway, let's move over to what we were doing in the majority of the time lapse, and that is down here. So yeah, from back here, you can even see this is such a good spot for a concession stand to be. So you can see it from back here, and you can clearly see with this beautiful sign that we've thrown together, you can clearly see that this is a drink stand. And it works, let me just go through the building here. It works over here too. You can actually see the main sign from this path. So this, just the way this building was oriented is such a I guess thought out process. I like, when I first was building it, I was like, I want this to be seen from a lot of different angles. So I mean, it really kind of is just by virtue of where it is. But yeah, I really love how it came out. And you'll notice that just around the sides, we have these flowers that just kind of fill the space. It was just kind of an awkward spot, and I didn't really want to leave the grass there. So yeah, I mean, it works really well. I love having this shrubbery here to kind of just like contain it from guests from like this side. And then you have the flowers, and then on the back side you have like rocks that are entrapping this entire thing. So I really, really love how this all came out. But yeah, this is just a really, really simple little building, and I talked a little bit about how I took influence from like a carnival type stall. So this came out great, and for the most part, it's really well lit up at night. So we have these lights that are placed down here, and it works well. And yeah, I think that's really about it. I mean, this was a bit of a shorter episode, but you guys want to see a little bit more frequent uploads, so I think that is the compromise that we can make. Now, I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on this all in the comments. So if you like that kind of moving forward, let me know in the comments. And if you'd rather see like one episode every 2 weeks or one episode every week, we can go ahead and go back to the longer kind of episodes where we do more in it. So I guess let me know what you want to see. I know everybody wants to see all episodes all the time, but that's just not really feasible, especially when I have to work a full-time job. But yeah, in the next episode, we're going to go ahead and do this bridge and probably a little bit more I guess landscape work around the area. So if you're looking forward to that, let me know with a thumbs up. And guys, I guess until next time, I'll be back here in Cedar Flags, and I'll see you in the next episode.